A.M.C is one of the world's best creative and technical DJs in the world right now, and one day I will have his children. But how does he prepare his sets? He did a masterclass with Pioneer where he shared some of his Rekordbox track preparation secrets. The tips he shared will take your sets to the next level. The first surprising thing he revealed is he used memory cues rather than hot cues. If you haven't used memory cues before, they're a bit like hot cues, but they've got a few subtle differences. They can only be accessed in chronological order, and most people generally use them when the track is paused. They're a little bit like bookmarks on a track. This is a bit different to hot cues where you can jump around them in any order and even while the track is playing. They're designed to be a bit more of a performance feature. There are two main reasons A.M.C uses memory cues over hot cues. The first is Rekordbox lets you set 10 memory cues versus 8 hot cues. If you have a controller, you can actually set more hot cues than that. If you're planning on playing on CDJs in the club, bear in mind even the newest CDJ 3000s only have 8 hot cues. Older ones can actually only have 3. A.M.C sets his first memory cue on the drop and then sets further memory cues 8 bars apart leading up to it. To do this in Rekordbox, head to export mode. Ensure that your beat jump is set to 8 bars over here on the left. Make sure the right hand panel is set to memory cues rather than hot cues. Find the drop of your track, press C to set a cue, and then press M to set a memory cue. As you can see, it's appeared in this list over here on the right. Use the left cursor to jump back 8 bars and do the same again, C and M. And again, C and M. And keep doing that until you've got the memory cues you need. Loops are a fantastic creative tool for DJs, and A.M.C likes to use them as well. One of the ways he uses them is to extend a drop, so he can mix other tracks over the top of it for extended periods of time. To do this, the loop needs to be triggered automatically. We're going to set a loop on our track and save it in a memory cue. Find the drop or wherever you want your loop to start. You can adjust the length of the loop using these controls here. First of all, set a cue point as before by pressing C, then activate the loop. We're then going to save this loop to a memory cue, so press M. You'll see the memory cue has been saved up here on the right, and there's a little loop icon. What this means is the next time we call that memory cue, the loop will automatically be applied. But that's not quite what we want to happen. What we want is for that loop to activate whilst the track is playing. To do that, we need to turn it into a hot loop. Click on the little loop icon. You'll see it turns red, indicating that it's now a hot loop. In export mode, this isn't actually going to do anything. You need to go into performance mode or plug in your decks to actually see the effects. Now we're in performance mode, let's start our track a little bit before that memory cue and see what happens. As you can see, the loop automatically activated as soon as the playhead reached that part of the track. This means you don't have to fuss with loop functions live in the mix, and you can start mixing other tracks on top of this loop. This technique doesn't only work on drops. You can also use it to cut up interesting acapellas, percussive sections of tracks, or any other bit that sounds interesting. This gives you a great chance to really surprise the audience. A massive playlist of tracks. It can be hard to remember which ones go well together. A.M.C had the same problem, and he came up with a creative and deceptively simple solution. To do this, you're going to need an empty track. No artist, no title, no music. It will make sense in a minute, I promise. You can create this yourself in Audacity, or if you can't be bothered, I've put a link in the description where you can download one I made for free. Over the years and after many sets, A.M.C has come up with groups of tracks he knows work well together. These can be tracks he double, triple, even quad drops, or simply just plays in order. In order to remember those groups, he's put them in their own playlist. Not groundbreaking so far. What you might notice is I've got these little spaces in between the groups here. This splits it up visually so you can easily see where the different groups of tracks are. To create one of these yourself, simply create a new playlist as normal, choose some tracks you know go well together, add them to the playlist. Remember that blank track we created? It's time to use it now. Whenever you want to add a separator to your playlist, simply drag that blank track in. We're now ready to add another group. Then rinse and repeat until you're done creating your playlist. If you do this multiple times, Rekordbox will warn you about a duplicate track being added to the playlist. Just ignore it and add it anyway. Whenever you're playing and you notice certain combos working well, take note of them. If you can't do that live in the mix, you can actually go into the history section of Rekordbox to see exactly what you played. There's another benefit to this method. One of the things A.M.C does, and what all DJs should try and do, is make the set appealing to different groups of ravers. For example, at a drum and bass night, there might be older groups of ravers who are really into their old school jungle. If A.M.C feels like he needs to reach out to this group, he can quickly identify groups of tracks that will really get them dancing. A.M.C's method is genius, especially if you're mixing without the aid of a laptop. But if you're using a controller connected to a laptop, there is another way in Rekordbox that you can use to identify and remember which tracks go well together. Watch this video next where I teach you about Rekordbox's related tracks feature. And in that video, I also show you one thing about that feature that no DJs actually know about.